Hello and welcome to the Top Agent Podcast. My name is Costa and I chat with top real estate agents to discuss their successes, tips, and marketing strategies. This podcast series is brought to you by Web for Realty, the leading provider in real estate marketing tools to grow your business. If you're looking to attract leads, build relationships, and close more deals, go to webforrealty.com to learn more. In this episode, I have a very special guest. I'm speaking with Tim Hudak, the CEO of the Ontario Real Estate Association. He's also a longtime serving public official and the former Conservative Party leader of Ontario. We're chatting about some great initiatives by OREA, including a brand new program that's helping real estate agents get into public office, which is really exciting. This is definitely a very informative and useful episode for any real estate agent who's involved in their communities. I had a ton of fun speaking with Tim, and I hope you enjoy our chat as much as I did. Tim, it's so great to have you on the Top Agent Podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to chat with me. I know you had a lot of running around today, so I really do appreciate it.
My pleasure, Costa. Now, I don't qualify as a top agent or any kind of agent, but hopefully I can fill the airtime adequately.
Absolutely. I'm sure you will be able to. You are currently the CEO of OREA, the Ontario Real Estate Association, former Conservative provincial leader of Ontario. For those who may not know who Tim Hudak is, and there's probably not too many of those people, but do you mind sharing a bit about your professional background, both in politics and currently with OREA?
Yeah, sure. Well, as you mentioned, I'm a recovering politician, Costa. I spent 21 years in public life. I represented the Niagara Peninsula as a member of provincial parliament, as cabinet minister under the PC government, including being, by the way, the consumer and business services minister. So I'm the guy responsible for the Real Estate and Business Brokers Act from way back in 2002. And I became the CEO of the Ontario Real Estate Association, proudly representing 70,000 plus realtors across Ontario for 2 years come December. And most importantly, a lovely, talented, intelligent, beautiful wife, Debbie, and two darling little girls, Miller and Maitland, who have their dad totally twisted around their little fingers.
Amazing. That's quite the resume. Congratulations on all those accomplishments. So about a month ago, Tim, I saw a post of yours on LinkedIn. It was about a new campaign launched by OREA that encourages and supports realtors to run and get elected for public office. So when I read that post, two things came to my mind automatically. One, I instantly saw the connection between real estate agents and politics. I thought it was such an amazing idea. Obviously, for myself, being in a business now for nearly 8 years where I service realtors and just getting to know the ins and outs of a real estate agent, and also having a passion for politics, I thought the overlap and the synergies between the two professions are totally undeniable. And the second thing that came to my mind was that I need to get you on my podcast to talk about it because I know our audience will get a ton of value from this. And by the way, I think I was actually the first person to leave a comment on that post. If you go back, I know you'll see it there. But do you mind telling our audience some more about this initiative and how the idea came about?
Yeah, for sure. So there's a lot here. So I'm going to give you reason number one as to why we have our Realtor Campaign School, and then we'll pause. And if you want to ask me reason number two, I'm happy to give you that one as well.
Perfect.
So reason number one, Costa, like you said there, right? Like in my 21 years in politics, I got to tell you, I had seen no other profession that can touch realtors when it comes to being actively involved in their community. Like whether it's a church group, working at the synagogue, at the temple, coaching the hockey team, volunteering for the local school or the food bank, whatever, it's always realtors actively involved. Nobody knows the neighborhoods better, where things are going, the quality of the school, what stores coming in than a realtor. So, we thought, why don't we take that local energy that's incredible, it's giving back to the local community, and make a difference at an elected level. So that's what we plan to do. We've identified over 60 realtors to do just that in every city and village across the province.
Amazing. And reason two?
All right, here's reason number two. At one time in my political career, we had to make some tough decisions about auto insurance. Auto insurance, that's an eye-level issue. We all have to pay it if you have a car. We all think it's too expensive. So we got lobbied. So you'd have the fancy lobbyists come in their expensive suits. They'd make their case. You'd hear from the bureaucrats, the civil servants, the deputy minister. You'd hear from the cabinet minister. But here's the punchline. We had 3 insurance brokers that were part of our PC caucus in those days. We sat with them every day. We respected the work that they did. They knew what was happening on the street. So when push came to shove and we had to make a decision and a vote, it was the insurance brokers in our caucus we listened to. So the lesson here is if we really want to have the best decisions possible when it comes to a healthy, functioning real estate market, to make sure home ownership stays within reach of the average family out there, we need realtors at the table making the decisions at the end of the day. And that's why this initiative is crucial.
You know, I totally agree. That makes a ton of sense. I do want to touch on the home affordability, but before that, you touched on a couple of points there. What would you say are some of the main skill sets that real estate agents possess that are transferable to the political arena?
Yeah, you know what? That's kind of answer number 3 on why we started this whole, realtor campaign college. And it's really the skill sets are very similar. I noticed that when I left the political world and, beamed over to realtor world. First of all, just like in politics, you got to be a people person. You've got to be networking all the time. You've got to be good with people and understanding what they talk about around the kitchen table all of the time. And you have to be, dedicated to your community and understand where things are going, from parks to schools to healthcare to local businesses. So the skill set really, really seemed to fit for me. And I think realtors will make very natural and successful public officials and politicians.
Couldn't agree more. I would actually throw in another character trait, relentlessness. And what I mean by that, like as a realtor doing sales and being entrepreneurs, of course, we don't really have a guaranteed paycheck tomorrow. You have to be relentless in your pursuit of providing value to your clients. And same goes for a politician. You also have to be relentless to best serve and provide value to your constituents.
Absolutely. One thing that I enjoyed about politics is like real estate, you're going 7 days a week. And you've got to be, seen in the public, active in the community, and understand what the vibe on the street is. Very similar professions.
Totally, for sure. I listened to the Real Estate Edition podcast by OREA, a great podcast, by the way, a few weeks ago with Stan Cho, who, as you know, is a realtor and now the MPP for Willowdale. So he's definitely one of the success stories of agents who made the transition from real estate into politics. Are there any other realtors who currently hold seats in office or are currently running for election? I know the local elections are taking place right now as we speak. So any insights or information on that?
Yeah, so a couple of cabinet ministers. So John Yakubuski, he's the transportation minister, very outgoing personality, really well respected and liked in the legislature. He's a former realtor, and his wife Vicky is currently a realtor. And Monty Quinter, who was a Liberal MPP, and actually has now set the record. He's retired now, but he set the record for the MPP who served to the latest age. He got elected in the 80s and retired in 2018. Also a former realtor. And guess what? Not only was he a realtor, he actually got to be the minister in charge of real estate. So that was a perfect fit.
Wow, that's incredible. Is there any advice you would give to realtors who are thinking or even considering jumping into politics or getting involved? Any recommendations you would give?
First of all, we covered number one base. You're a natural. You're going to be a natural fit because what makes you successful in the highly competitive world of real estate will make you successful in the world of politics, equally competitive. Number two, you got to start early. So at our campaign college for realtors, you mentioned Stan Cho. He was one of what I called our guest professors. We also had Hazel McCallion. Of course, Mayor McCallion, probably there are a Hall of Fame for politicians, would be right there at the opening exhibit. The most successful municipal politician probably in Canada's history. She talked about how realtors were her best salespeople for Mississauga. They were the first people that individuals looking to move to the community would get to know, and they would boast about the community. So she talked very fondly about the role that realtors play. And Michael Coteau, who's a former trustee, Liberal cabinet minister, was our other guest professor. What Hazel said, I want to focus on, is start early. You don't start the campaign when the writ goes off. You don't start the campaign a few weeks early. You start building for that council position or trustee of the province early. You get involved. You show the community you care. And guess what? Half people listening to this podcast, at least, are already deeply involved in volunteer work in their community.
I love it. No better person to take advice from than famous Hazel McCallion. That's for sure.
Yeah, she's got a pretty good winning streak going there.
I think so. So Tim, you touched upon a little bit about your background in long political career. You first ran and got elected in 1995 in the provincial elections for Niagara South. By the way, I'm not that young, Tim. I was 8 years old in 95. But so you were 27 and you never really looked back, climbed up all the way to leading the Conservative Party of Ontario. You might have to dig deep for this answer, but what was one of your most rewarding experiences while serving in public office?
Well, there's no doubt it was, first of all, getting elected 6 times, right? So the first time you win, a lot of that is timing, the right guy at the right place at the right time. Getting sent back 5 more was, a real honor that people thought my work was of value. So that's number one, just the honor to serve. Being the leader of a party was an incredible experience. And while the voters got a lot of votes, just not enough to be premier, it was tremendously invigorating to have the opportunity to stand on that main stage, I guess as the number 2 guy, to talk about your vision for the province. And, just to complete the circle here, Costa, part of my vision that was in my platform, and when I had the honor of serving as the minister responsible for real estate as consumer minister, I had a chance to pass legislation that modernized the real estate rules. That was 2002. It was my name that's on the bill, the Real Estate Business Brokers Act of that time. It was pioneering legislation. It was cutting edge for 2002. And it's kind of cool now, 16 years later, with a different hat on, we got a chance to raise the bar even higher.
Wow, very inspiring, Tim, to say the least. Thank you for sharing that. One of the hot topics that you hear nowadays, and we touched upon this earlier, both with realtors and in the public sphere, is the topic of home affordability, particularly in Toronto and the GTA, of course. I know OREA has been pretty vocal about this and encouraging our government to implement some action to make home ownership affordable again, especially for those already not in the market. So any quick thoughts on that and what OREA is doing to help those who are struggling to save to buy a home?
Yeah, number one, all the listeners to Top Agent should go to keepthedreamalive.ca. That's a site where we talk about, how millennials are finding home ownership tougher to reach, how for the first time in Canada's history, home ownership is actually going backwards instead of going forwards. Number 2, go to keepthedreamalive.ca. Number 3, go to keepthedreamalive.ca because, Costa, you can actually send a message via email or social media to your MPP saying we need to take action today, and tell you what, I know this by experience, they will read those messages.
Amazing. So keepthedreamalive.ca, right?
If I didn't say it enough, keepthedreamalive.ca.
I'll make sure to add that in the show notes as well. 3 times, not just once.
Yeah, look, it's a comprehensive campaign. It's online, social media, television, and radio ads. And the reason we're doing this because nothing makes a realtor happier when I talk to them about their personal stories than when they connected first-time home buyers with the very first place to call home. And our ad at keepthedreamalive.ca captures the agony that young couples are going through today in Ontario. They've tried to save up. They want to get a place. They got a job. Maybe they got a kid on the way, but they just can't find a place of their own. That needs to change. We want to organize to convince government to help those people out.
Absolutely. I love the awareness there. So keepthedreamalive.ca. Switching gears just a little bit, Tim, if you don't mind, and touching on technology.
Sure.
Obviously, my company, Web for Realty, being in the technology space for realtors, I know you've put a pretty big emphasis on encouraging the adoption of technology for real estate agents. OREA held the Reality Conference in Toronto earlier in the year. So I'm curious to hear from you. What are some opportunities that you see for agents in the online space, and what else is OREA doing to encourage technology and make realtors more effective and efficient in their day-to-day?
Yeah, you bet. I mean, most people think of OREA, they think of education. Most of your listeners who are realtors went to OREA College. But we really have three other, major functions. Number one is advocacy. We've talked a lot about that already. Another part of advocacy is, modernizing our rules to raise professional standards and making sure we have modern tools like the ability for realtors to incorporate. Number two, we provide services to members like leadership training and standard forums, which are the infrastructure pieces that bind our system together and make it easier than if we had different forums in every corner of the province. And third, expose our members to new technologies. Technology can save you time, it can save you money, it can improve your quality of customer service and help you make a better living. We don't pick winners and losers, but through conferences like Reality, we help our members learn about what may be helpful in their job and in their profession.
Absolutely. Is there plans for another conference?
Yeah, we were thrilled, we were thrilled. The Reality Conference in 2018, back in February, we'd always had maybe 200, 250 people at our conference. It was getting pretty stale. So we said, let's blow the whole thing up. And we did the Reality Conference, focused on taking on the tough issues before real estate and exposing members to new technologies. We went over 900 attendees. It was one of the best events we've ever run. So we're going to do it again. Now, we're going to do it every 2 years to make sure we've got sort of the latest, greatest, most exciting speakers going. And I'm happy to say, as a Niagaran, we're going to do the 2020 event in Niagara Falls.
Oh, wow. Very nice. I'll be sure to put that in my calendar.
Good. And like last time, we hope to attract realtors from across Ontario. And, also we had every province represented, so we hope to have others from across Canada as well.
Amazing. Tim, I do want to be mindful of your time. I like to wrap up each interview with what I call the top three. So you ready?
You go.
Number one, your favorite real estate or business book?
Real estate or business book? Boy, I don't even know if I've got the favorite real estate business book. I think one that actually got me interested at a young age when it came to the world of business was The Wealthy Barber. It's the importance of saving and planning long term.
Yes, that's actually on my reading list. Number two, your top vacation spot.
Outer Banks, North Carolina. Just love the beach. I like the drive, and I like the barbecue.
Wow. Was it affected by the hurricane recently?
Yeah, it was. Sadly, they get hit there. But my family and I have had some wonderful vacations there. We usually go late August, rent a place along the ocean, and with two daughters now, 11 and 4, they just could play in the sand all day, and it's great to see them in action, and I try to keep up with them.
Awesome. Very nice. And just doing some quick math here, you're about 50 years young. Is that right?
That's right. I had to come to that my last birthday. I crossed that barrier. Why'd you have to remind me of that? Things are going well so far.
Well, if you can go back 30 years, what do you wish your 20-year-old self knew?
I wish I would have bought a house. Can you imagine if I had bought a house or more properties when I was 20 years old? So, yeah, look, I've had a very rewarding life. I've been of the belief that it's better to take chances to go out there in the ring and to fight than to be in the shadows and not attempt much. So I'm very happy the way things ended up those first 50 years. But Costa, you gave me a second chance 30 years ago. I would have bought property.
That's great advice. Tim, thank you so much again for being on the podcast. I had a ton of fun. And I also want to thank you for your decades of public service and continuing to try and make our province a better place to live, both for ourselves and for our children, of course. So sincerest thanks to you for that.
Very kind, Costa. Thanks for having me on the show. Continued success for yourself.
All right, Tim. All the best.
Thank you.
Take care. thank you so much for listening to the Top Agent podcast by Web for Realty. By the way, we're providing exclusive promos to our listeners. Visit webforrealty.com/topagent and get your first month on us. That's webforrealty.com/topagent to get your first month of service completely free. Until next time, over and out. Peace.